Once upon a time, in the heart of the savannah. In the vast open lands of the African savannah, where the golden grass sways gently in the breeze and the sky stretches endlessly overhead, there was a village, small yet vibrant. This village, tucked between tall baobab trees and overlooking a winding river, was home to a woman named Amara. Amara was known far and wide for her extraordinary skill as a weaver. The delicate fabrics she created told stories of love, tradition, and the intricate beauty of life itself. Her fingers worked magic with each thread, intertwining colours and patterns to reflect the spirit of the land and its people. But Amara's talent wasn't her only gift. She was also a mother, and her daughter Zola was the light of her life. Zola was a child as bright as the morning sun, with a heart as pure as the waters that flowed through the village. Her laugh could make even the grumpiest villager smile, and her curious nature drew everyone to her. From a young age, Zola loved to sit beside her mother, watching the graceful movements of Amara's hands as they danced over the loom, creating beautiful tapestries. "Mama, will I be as good a weaver as you one day?" Zola would ask, her wide eyes filled with admiration and wonder. Amara, with a gentle smile that only a mother could have, would stroke Zola's hair and reply, "You'll be more than just a weaver, my love. You will weave not only with threads, but with kindness, respect, and the wisdom of our people." Zola would giggle and nod, her small hands trying to imitate her mother's motions. Though her attempts were clumsy, there was a certain spark in Zola that hinted at the greatness she could one day achieve. The villagers often remarked on the closeness between mother and daughter, calling them inseparable, like the sun and its rays. A life of simple joys. Life in the village was peaceful. Days were spent tending to crops, gathering water from the river, and celebrating the little joys that made life rich. Zola grew under the warm care of her mother, learning not only how to weave, but also how to live with kindness and respect for others. She quickly became a beloved figure in the village, known for her cheerful demeanour and the tiny braids she would make in the hair of other children. Despite the simplicity of their lives, Amara and Zola were happy. Amara's husband and Zola's father had passed away years before when Zola was still very young. The villagers spoke of him as a man who had been taken to the stars, leaving Amara to raise Zola on her own. Though Amara missed him dearly, she never let her grief overshadow the love she had for her daughter. Amara worked tirelessly to ensure that Zola grew up in a home filled with warmth, love, and laughter. "Your father is always with us, Zola," Amara would tell her daughter when she asked about him. "In the stars, in the wind, and in the love that binds us together." Zola would look up at the night sky, searching for the stars that her mother spoke of, feeling comforted by the thought that her father was watching over them. She never felt alone, for her mother's strength and love were enough to fill their home. As Zola grew older, she began to help her mother with her weaving. Though she was still learning, Zola had a natural talent for it. Her small hands could create delicate patterns that amazed even the most seasoned weavers in the village. People would come to their home, not just for Amara's famous cloths, but to see the young Zola at work. "She has her mother's gift," they would say, admiring the precision of her stitches, "and a heart as kind as Amara's." Amara couldn't have been prouder of her daughter. Together they wove not only fabrics but also the stories and lives of the people in their village. Their home was a place of warmth, creativity, and love. But life, as it often does, had its own plans. The thread begins to unravel. As the years passed, Zola blossomed from a girl into a young woman. Like a flower stretching towards the sun, she grew tall and graceful, with a beauty that captured the attention of everyone around her. Her skin glowed like the golden savanna at sunset, and her eyes sparkled with curiosity about the world beyond the village. Though her mother continued to teach her the art of weaving, Zola's mind began to wander. One day, while watching a group of young women from the village dance and laugh under the baobab tree, Zola felt a stirring deep within her. a desire for something more than the simple life she had known. She began to dream of the world outside the village, a world full of excitement, adventure, and possibilities she could barely imagine. "Mama," Zola said one evening as they sat weaving together, the warm glow of the fire casting shadows on the walls of their home. "Why must we stay here in the village? There's so much more out there, I can feel it. Don't you ever wonder what it would be like to leave and explore?" Amara paused, her hands stilling on the loom. She had sensed the restlessness growing in her daughter for some time now. With a deep sigh, she looked into Zola's eager eyes, seeing both the innocence and the danger of youth in them. "The world outside our village can be beautiful, yes," Amara said softly, "but it can also be treacherous. The life we lead here may be simple, but it is full of love, respect, and the values that will guide you through any storm. Out there, the winds blow strong, and without those values, you may lose your way." Zola frowned, feeling a growing sense of frustration. "But how will I know if I never leave? How will I ever learn what the world is truly like?" Amara shook her head gently. "You will learn, my dear, when the time is right. But promise me, Zola, that you will never forget the threads of kindness and respect that we've woven into your life. No matter where you go, they will be your guide." But Zola, like many young people eager for adventure, couldn't see the wisdom in her mother's words. She yearned for more than the quiet rhythms of village life. Slowly, the bond between mother and daughter, once as strong as the tightest weave, began to loosen. Zola spent less time with her mother at the loom and more time with the young people in the village, whose laughter and carefree spirits called to her. A sister's visit. The winds of change continued to blow, and soon they brought Amara's sister, Amina, to the village. Amina lived in the nearby town, where life was fast-paced, full of music, dancing, and the excitement that Zola longed for. Amina had heard the whispers about her niece's growing discontent and decided to visit, hoping to help her sister guide Zola back to the path of respect and responsibility. When Amina arrived, Zola's behavior shocked her. Unlike the respectful girl she had known, Zola no longer showed the proper courtesies. She didn't kneel to greet her aunt, nor did she offer her food or water after her long journey. Instead, Zola was aloof, distracted, and seemed uninterested in anything other than her own thoughts. "Amara," Amina said in a low voice when the two sisters had a moment alone, "your daughter has changed. She's no longer the sweet, respectful girl I remember. She's lost her way." Amara's face fell. She had seen the changes in Zola but had hoped that her daughter would come back to her on her own. "I've tried to reach her, Amina. I've spoken to her about respect, kindness, and the values we hold dear, but it's as if she no longer hears me." Amina nodded thoughtfully. "Perhaps she needs to see for herself what life is like beyond this village. Let her come with me to the town for a while. There, she will learn that the world is not as easy as it seems, and she will understand the value of what you've taught her." Amara hesitated. The thought of sending her daughter away filled her with fear, but deep down she knew that Amina was right. Zola needed to learn, and maybe a taste of the life she thought she wanted would help her appreciate the simplicity and love of the village. "Very well," Amara agreed, her heart heavy with worry. "But please, Amina, be gentle with her. She may be stubborn, but she is still my daughter." Amina placed a reassuring hand on her sister's shoulder. "I will do my best, Amara, but know this. Sometimes the lessons life teaches are not gentle, a world of temptation." Zola was thrilled at the idea of leaving the village and going to the town with her aunt. She packed her things quickly, her mind filled with visions of exciting new experiences, unaware that this journey would be one of learning, not leisure. The town was unlike anything Zola had ever seen. It was alive with energy, people bustling through the streets, the sounds of drums and music filling the air, and lights twinkling from every corner. The houses were larger, the clothes more colourful, and the atmosphere was one of constant celebration. "This is where I belong," Zola thought, her heart racing with excitement. She felt free, untethered from the quiet constraints of village life. At first, Zola was respectful of her aunt's rules. She helped Amina around the house, running errands and performing small chores. But it wasn't long before Zola's curiosity led her astray. One day, while wandering through the town market, she met a group of young women who were unlike anyone she had ever encountered. These women were bold, confident, and dressed in brightly coloured clothes that shimmered in the sunlight. They walked with an air of superiority, their heads held high as if they owned the world. They laughed loudly, spoke freely, and seemed to have no care in the world. "Come with us, Zola," they said, their voices like sweet honey. "We'll show you what life is really about." Without a second thought, Zola followed them. She began to adopt their ways, dressing in the same bold clothes, staying out late, and forgetting the lessons her mother and aunt had tried to teach her. She enjoyed the attention she received from the young men in the town who admired her new look and carefree attitude. "I'm special," Zola thought as she strutted through the streets, basking in the admiration of those around her. "Everyone loves me just as I am." But what Zola didn't realize was that the attention she craved was fleeting, as insubstantial as the wind. She was losing herself little by little to the temptations of the town, the consequence of choices. One morning, Zola woke up feeling strange. The world seemed to spin around her, and her body felt heavy and unfamiliar. Panic seized her as she realized that something was wrong. She was pregnant. Fear gripped her heart as she tried to recall the faces of the men she had been with, but each memory was clouded. Desperate, she sought out the men, hoping one of them would take responsibility, but each one turned her away. "This isn't my problem," they said coldly. "You're on your own, Zola." Zola's world crumbled around her. The vibrant, carefree life she had embraced was nothing but an illusion, and now she was alone, abandoned by the very people she had once thought loved her. A mother's love never fades. With no one else to turn to, Zola returned to the village. She walked through the familiar streets with her head hung low, her once bright eyes filled with shame. The villagers whispered as she passed, their eyes filled with judgment. "Is that Zola? Look at what she's become." Zola's heart ached with regret. She had once been the pride of the village, but now she was a cautionary tale, a warning to others about the dangers of losing oneself to temptation. When Zola reached her mother's home, she hesitated at the door, unsure if she would be welcomed back. But before she could knock, the door opened, and there stood Amara, her face lined with worry, but her arms open wide. "Come in, my daughter," Amara said softly. "I've been waiting for you." Zola collapsed into her mother's arms, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, Mama. I didn't listen. I made so many mistakes." Amara held her close, her love as strong as ever. "We all make mistakes, Zola. What matters is what we do next. The road to redemption." Zola stayed in the village after that, no longer the carefree girl she once was, but a woman who had learned the hardest of lessons. With her mother's support, she began to rebuild her life, not just for herself, but for the child growing inside her. She no longer sought attention from others, no longer wore the flashy clothes of the town, but returned to the simple, honest life her mother had taught her. Zola knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but she was determined to walk it with grace and humility. As time went on, Zola grew stronger, not just as a mother, but as a woman who had faced her mistakes and learned from them. And Amara, ever the loving mother, continued to weave, not just the beautiful cloths she was known for, but the fabric of a new life for her and her daughter. This is a tale not just of Zola and Amara, but of all of us. It is a story of love, mistakes, and redemption. A reminder that no matter how far we stray, it is never too late to return home and weave a new life from the threads of our past. As Zola learned, the world may be full of temptation, but true strength comes from within, from the values we hold dear, the love of family, and the courage to face the consequences of our choices. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more tales that inspire, teach, and remind us of the power of storytelling. If this story moved you, share it with your friends and family. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What lessons did you take away from Zola's journey? Leave a comment below and don't forget to subscribe for more African tales that will touch your heart and spark your imagination.